Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. We're going to have a very productive and informative webinar covering a lot of pre-arrival details, useful information for those of you who are admitted students. It should be all of you. You should find it helpful no matter what stage you are in the process. And we're going to have a lot of good detailed information too related to the latest in COVID-19 guidelines at Valparaiso University. So I welcome all of you, and we'll go ahead and get started. Today's presenters, let's go from the top. Marci.
I am Marci Fradkin, the Director of International Outreach and Admissions. So I recruit grad students and undergrad, but I don't do admission for grad, and I do admissions for undergrad.
Yeah, I'm Andrew Knox, and I work with the International Student Services here at Valpo. So, so when students actually come to Valpo, or when they're preparing to come to Valpo, I help with all kinds of different details regarding the immigration or also the cultural adjustment, that kind of thing. So, I work in the International Student Services office. I sign and make most of your I-20s, but I don't do the admission. I do help you after you get admitted.
I'm Segally, the Director of Graduate Enrollment Operations. So I've probably reviewed a number of the graduate students apps who are here today. I also do a lot of oversight of the recruitment process, help out with a lot of things related to our graduate international population. Let's talk about our agenda today. We're going to do an update on COVID-19, talk a little bit about why Valpo, provide you with some information for preparing for your visa interview. Some of you may have already had your visa interview, and some of you may be in the process still of obtaining an interview. We'll talk arrival details, orientation, registration details, and have some time for Q&A. And I'll just let everybody know, best way to do this is if you have any questions that come up during the presentation, you can feel free to type them in the chat. We'll be sure to go over that during the Q&A portion, or just save them for the Q&A time, and we'll be sure to address them. But we'll want to get through these topics, and some of these are going to be pretty detailed, so we're going to want to stay on time today. Keep your microphones muted. Welcome to have your video on, though. We'd love to see your faces. For now, it's got to be remote, but soon enough in person. So let's go ahead and start here. Marci.
Okay, so this is something that's evolving at Valpo by the day. What I can tell you for right now is that we are requiring all students to be vaccinated to join our campus. Now, we understand that vaccine might be very hard to get in some countries, or maybe they're only doing more mature people, but we are requiring. You can apply for exemption, but it's only for religious or medical reasons, and we would need documentation. So, but don't freak out. We prefer if you could get your vaccination before you arrive. It'd make everyone's life easier, including yours. But we understand that the U.S. is hogging all the vaccines, and that we might be a little ahead of some of the other countries. So do not freak out if you can't get it. And we will work with you to get the vaccine. There is now, so if you are able to get the vaccine, there are many vaccines out there in the world other than what we have in the United States. In the United States, we currently have 3 vaccines. We have Johnson & Johnson, we have Pfizer, and we have Moderna. And that's what we have. But we recognize there are many other vaccines in the world. And if your vaccine is on the World Health Organization list, that meets our requirements. There is an email address. So if you are fully vaccinated, you can email your proof of your vaccine to the health center. And we'll be sending a follow-up email. We have a big meeting about this next week. And we're going to send you very much more specific directions afterwards. Did you have another slide, or is it Ryan on COVID? I have more to talk about, but I didn't know what you had on the other slide. There we go. So if you enter the United States, you must have, the current rules to enter the United States is you must have a COVID test within 3 days of your arrival in the United States. So we recommend the minute you take your COVID test, we'll give you another address for that you can email it to the health center. And we're very weird in America about health things. We are not allowed to know your health status. So that's why you have to email it to the health center, not me, not Ryan, and not Andrew. Because some people have been emailing me their documents. You need to, and we'll make sure you have that document. So if you have the vaccine, you need to email it to them. And once you have your COVID test, you will need to email that to the health center. So let's say you don't have your vaccine when you arrive in the United States, you will have to do a sort of quarantine. So it's a minimum quarantine so if you're living in the dorms, you still can live in the dorms. Or if you're a graduate student and you're living off campus, we want you to be very, very careful for your first 7 days in the United States. We also would like you to get a second vaccine, maybe around day 4 or 5, to make sure that you have, after you arrive, to make sure you didn't catch anything on the way here. If you do these things, you will be able, even if you're not vaccinated, will still be able to attend events on campus. But you will have to wear a mask on campus, and you won't be the only one who you will have to wear a mask on campus till you're fully vaccinated. So, and we are working on arranging a vaccination clinic. Now, if you're one of those students who are going to get here super, super early, like because you can enter about up to 30 days before the start of school. The date is the 17th under I-20, Andrew. So you can enter as early as July 17th. And let's say you get here really super early, then go get a vaccine. In America, they're pretty much free, and you can just call the drugstore and make an appointment and get it. And like I said, we'll take any of those 3 American ones, of course, that are available in America. But like I said, if you had it before, you can do it. So if we highly recommend, if you get here super early, maybe you're going to stay with your aunt and uncle in San Francisco or New York or in Florida, please make sure that if you can, do it before you even get to campus. But then you will need to send record of your vaccination here. Or if you get 1 shot before you arrive in Valpo, we'll help you get a second shot. The other plan is we are hoping we're going to probably have a vaccination clinic maybe on the 16th. We're working on the details exactly, and we'll send that out to you guys soon too. So let's say you come to campus, you're not vaccinated, you're staying in the dorms, or you have an apartment off campus. We ask you to minimize your contact. We don't want you to bring the Delta variant, or some other bad COVID reaction to the US, because we want everyone to stay healthy. So when you leave your house, we're asking you guys to wear a mask. We're asking you to social distance. And like I said, about 4 or 5 days after arrival, we'll work with the health center and you can get a second COVID test. And we'll also have more information. So you will be able to go to orientation for grad and undergrad, and you will be able to go to international orientation. Well, once again, if you're not fully vaccinated, we will ask you to wear a mask in those situations. There will be other things. You'll be able to go to the cafeteria. You'll still be able to go to class, and you won't be the only ones doing this. Let's see. And like I said, we have a meeting, I think it was on the 6th, where we're going to get all these details. We have about 6 offices coming together on the 6th of July, and we'll probably send out an email that following week with the details of how do I make an appointment to get my COVID test? How do I make an appointment to get my vaccination? So we'll send all those exact details out around the week after, a couple days after the 6th. I'm going to stop here and take any COVID questions really quick if you guys have any. Do you guys have any COVID questions? Did I miss anything, Ryan and Andrew? Okay. Just remember, you will be able to participate, but you just will wear a mask. And I have Valpo masks for everyone. I have 100 Valpo masks to hand out to all y'all. Okay. Next slide, I guess.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about why Valpo. because you're still at the stage of the process. You may be deciding between universities. You may just need extra reasoning and motivation, and we have plenty of reason to give you and plenty of motivation to give you. And we're going to cover a few different things here: location, preparation, affordability and value for quality, the Valpo experience, campus diversity, career services, and our community of Valpo. And let's just move on to location real quick. So one of the big, lovely things about Valpo is that you get a nice cross-section experience of America. You have both a small city, Midwest experience in the city of Valpo, which is lovely. Very safe in Valpo, very much Americana in Valpo, nice downtown area, lots of events going on, especially now that COVID-19 is beginning to recede. I think I just heard recently that Porter County went without any new cases. We just like had our first week without cases or something like that.
Yeah, that's great.
So Valpo is doing very well right now, and we're a nice small town, but we also have close proximity to Chicago, which is the third largest metropolitan area in the United States?
Yes, it's third, and we're only 72 kilometers, guys.
Only 72 kilometers, and there's a couple of different ways you can get there. The train is an easy way in, and that's not too far from Valpo. But anyway, you have a nice little set of photos here that illustrate different aspects of it. There's the beach, Lake Michigan, which you can access actually closer in Indiana. I think, what's the drive to the beach here, like half hour?
Yeah,
Well,
it's about
15
20 to
minutes,
25 minutes.
20, 25?
And there's a bus that will take you there.
Yeah, definitely the beach close to us is better than the one in Chicago, I think.
Yeah.
Actually, it's very famous. It's a national park. It's listed as a national park in the US, the Indiana Lake Michigan Beach.
That's right. Dunes State Park,
Yeah.
which it's a lovely place. And so you have close access to that in Indiana. And in Chicago here, all different aspects of culture to experience. There's photos of the Symphony Center. There's the Cloud Gate, also known as the Bean in Chicago, a nice famous piece of sculpture. Soldier Field, the Cadillac Palace Theater. So you have all these lovely cultural aspects that you get from Chicago, which would be accessible to you as a student at Valpo. And then Valpo itself and Northwest Indiana have their own culture. There's the Northwest Indiana Symphony. There are several different theaters inside Valpo, not just movie theaters, but actual play theaters. We have the Memorial Opera House, we have the Chicago Street Theater. So there's a lot of things to do in and around Valpo.
The other thing I think is really cool, I've lived all over the United States. Even though we're a pretty small town, Valpo has its own bus system. And a lot of times, if you're in a small town in the United States, you need a car, but you don't need a car in Valparaiso because the bus system is maybe not the quickest, but it's pretty easy to use. There's an app to figure out when the next bus is coming, and the bus is free to all students. The bus, I saw some questions about getting to Chicago. The bus will take you to the train that will take you to Chicago. So that makes it a lot very convenient. And the bus goes to also, like we said, to the beach. So it's really easy to go around Valparaiso without a car by taking the bus.
And so we mentioned earlier that, why Valpo as a university, perhaps? And there's a couple different qualities that are going for us that I think international students find very attractive. We are affordable for a university of our profile and size. We're very competitive tuition-wise. We offer limited scholarships. We have different kinds of values that we provide to our students. We have all the normal resources that you would expect of a university. We have a very nice modern library, the Christopher Center. We have art gallery on campus. We have all kinds of things that many universities of our profile will provide, but we also have a nice diverse international student body. So you can see here just a list of some of the student associations that we have. And we also have the Gandhi King Cultural Center in our union, which is a lovely space where the Office of International Programs is located. that can become a little bit of a home away from home for international students. Wouldn't you say, Andrew?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we have a very active Valpo International Student Association. So if you look at the first letter of each of those words, it actually comes out to visa. So it's kind of cool because you get your visa in your passport, but when you come to Valpo, you can be a part of VISA, Valpo International Student Association. And the students in there are always extremely friendly. I think it's always been a mark of Valpo International students that they have a really tight-knit community. And so throughout the semester, there's lots of events, lots of food things, cultural food events that students can go to. So yeah, definitely a lot of support.
One of my favorite things about campus that a lot of you guys would be interested in is our career center. We have a really, really cool career center, and they help you find jobs on campus, internships, and jobs after graduation. They will help you develop a resume. They will help you develop job interview skills, and they really help teach you business etiquette, and they really help you get that job. They also host at least 3 times a year a career fair on campus. One career fair is for jobs on campus, but then the other ones are for internships or jobs after graduation. And it really, really mentors you on how to land that job. And that, I think a lot of students really appreciate that.
Yeah, and the International Programs Office also partners with the Career Center to do some events that are more focused towards international student concerns and needs. So we bring in some international alumni who have graduated from Valpo and they're working in the US or around the world, and they come and talk to the current students about how to find a good career. And so yeah, some really helpful things like that. I wanted to mention there was a question from Olutoye. He said, why do you never mention Indianapolis? So actually, yeah, I like Indianapolis too. I feel like Indianapolis is kind of a little bit less crazy version of Chicago. So if you walk around downtown Indy, we call it, I think it's a really cool place, but it is 2.5 hour drive away. So Chicago is only about 1 hour drive away. So that's why we don't, say you can just go there and, just to get a meal or something. It's kind of it's a whole day trip if you go down there. But yeah, it's a cool place.
It is.
Valpo is very much a suburb of Chicago. Like I said, maybe I haven't said it to this group. Probably about 20% of Valpo people who live in Valpo go to Chicago every day for work. There's a commuter bus that takes people in the morning. So if you get an internship in Chicago, maybe in the summer, there's a bus that will take you in the morning from downtown Valpo and bring you back at the end of the workday. So we really are a suburb of Chicago. And I know 72 kilometers, depending on what country you're in, can be really, really far, but it really is only just about an hour.
Yeah, I just to put in a little word there, I used to live in Japan, and so I know 72 kilometers. So I lived about, I don't know, maybe 50 kilometers from Tokyo. And so to go to downtown Tokyo maybe would take 2 hours driving, 2.5 hours, but it was just 50 kilometers. So, but in the US, the highways are fast usually. And so, yeah, it's really not far to get to Chicago.
Yeah. And I really love that Olatoy brought up Indianapolis, because if you do have the opportunity while you're here to make it down there, I highly suggest you do. One of these elements we include in our graduate school view book is a nice little map that shows you some of the nearest kind of metropolitan or interesting areas. You'll find that it's a nice positioning to experience a good swath of the Midwest and some very notable cities in that midst, like Milwaukee, Detroit, Cincinnati, Cleveland on the farther end of things. So you're not terribly far away from a lot of different cities that you could reach if you have the resources and you can while you're here. And some students manage to pull that together, and we highly encourage it if you can. But of course, you have very close proximity to Chicago, which is always great because Chicago's a big enough city that you can never find everything that you want to, never do everything you want to there, no matter how long you're here. Many Chicagoans are always exploring and discovering new things, even though they live there their entire lives. So in addition to all the other things we've already mentioned, Valparaiso University is a highly rated university. These are some of our older rankings. We do have updated ones that we'll put in here soon, but they haven't changed much. We're still listed among best colleges, top colleges, best in the Midwest. So our programs are very highly reputed. We have very good academics at Valpo. You are here to get an education, which is the chief most part of your experience. And at Valparaiso University, you will receive a top quality education and you'll have very good opportunities. So it is a very good, attractive proposition for an international student.
The other thing I think a lot of students like about our education is our average class size is for grad or undergrad is only around 19 students. A lot of how we teach at Valparaiso is teaching by doing. So you might learn a computer theory and then you're going to apply that computer theory. Or if you're an engineering student, our engineering labs are incredible. I've worked at Texas A&M and Drexel, some very top engineering schools. And a lot of times, especially for undergrad students, they don't get that hands-on experience like they do here. So really, we're taking what, the theory and applying it in real life. And that's why a lot of our students are really, really successful. We also have, I'm always talking about jobs because I know you guys care about jobs. Even last year with COVID, we still had an overall job placement rate of 90, I think it went down to 96% because it was a little lower because of COVID made it harder. But traditionally, we're around 97% job or grad school placement or higher degree placement. So it's really, we're building up your skills to prepare you for the next step.
A big part of it. And those small class sizes mean personalized attention. It means professors who care about you. You're not taught by teaching assistants or, otherwise as you would at a large university, you're taught by professors, by the knowledgeable people, tenured faculty in many cases. So very high quality academics and a nice personalized experience. Let's talk a little bit about visa preparation since you are all still going to be, many of you might still be in the process here. Marci or Andrew, do you want to take lead on this?
Andrew, you can do this one. I'll do some of the other ones.
Yeah, so once you get your I-20 or DS 2019, I-20 for the F1 students, most of you, but there's definitely a few J1 students who get the DS 2019. Once you get that, you can take the number on there, the SEVIS number, and you can go pay your SEVIS fee. So I know that many of you have done that. I see more each day pay their SEVIS fee, so that's great. The website is there, but it's a little bit of a hard website. So if you just Google SEVIS fee, you'll find the website like that. So yeah, once you pay your SEVIS fee, you need to print and keep a copy of the receipt. And make sure that you pay your fee early. Don't pay it like maybe one day before you want to get your visa or go for your visa interview. I think you have to pay it at least a couple days before your visa interview. But yeah, just pay your SEVIS fee as soon as you can. And then you can schedule your visa interview. And you have to bring all those documents with you, passport, obviously, CFC receipt, your I-20, DS-19 financial documents. Make sure you bring the financial documents that can prove that you can study in the U.S. for at least 1 year. And then, of course, your Valpo admission letter. And are there any other documents that students should bring, Marci, that you would?
Well, we'll talk about it a little bit in the next slide, I think.
Okay.
More advice on this. So we want you to bring other documents that are going to tell your story. You guys, half of you might be studying IT, but all your stories are a little different. And why do you want to study IT? What is your what was your bachelor's degree that led you to this? Or why did you pick Valparaiso? So we want you to bring documentation, or some of you guys might have even already started your degree with Valparaiso at home, and now you're transitioning. Then you should bring transcripts showing that you've been successful so far at Valparaiso. The visa interview is something that is very, very brief. Often it's less than 2 minutes. And these guys are trained to tell if you're not telling a truth. So they want to hear, and you're not being unique. If you just memorize our website, you will fail your interview. But if you get your feelings, why did I pick Valparaiso? And that's why we've been talking about what the Valpo experience is like so much, is you have to say, why does this place feel like it's a good fit for me? And I know some people already got their visa interview here. I see some people I know already have their visas. Yes, Juan, I know you got your visa in Mexico, and I think Sarah might be on here too. And I know some of our German exchange students already got their visas, but it's a very brief thing, and they want to know that you are coming to the United States as a legitimate student, and that you picked this major and you picked this university for a reason. And that's why we've been trying to tell you about what Valpo, the city, is like, and what Chicago's like. Your interview, of course, will be done in English. But the biggest thing they want to know is that you're a legitimate student, and then after your degree, you plan to return to your home country. It doesn't mean you can't do an internship afterwards. There's lots of ways to work afterwards, but that you have a long-term plan. So maybe your major is engineering. So you picked Valpo's engineering because we're ranked 13 for undergrad engineering. You learn best by doing, and that's something special Valpo specializes in. You also heard Valpo has great internships, so you can do some internships while you study. And after I graduate as a STEM student, I could work for 3 years. Those are all legitimate things to say. But then you have to talk about how is those internships or jobs I had, how am I going to bring that back to my home country? And that's what they really, really want to hear. They really want to hear, how are you going to take what you learned in the United States and bring it back? They also really want to know how you're paying for your studies. Some of you guys are just 17 or 18-year-olds, and your obvious answer is, oh, my parents are paying for it. Well, you might need, I know it's hard to talk to your parents about this stuff sometimes, but you need to go into those details. How are your parents affording this? Maybe your grandparents are helping you out, or maybe your parents have been saving for 10 years so that you could study in the United States. So your story will not be the same as the student next to you, or the person before you, or the person after you. Your story has to be unique. So really think of these things. If your parents own property, bring documentation of that. If you have really strong grades, or you got a scholarship, bring documentation of that. Bring your story and be prepared to answer, especially, why did I pick Valparaiso? Where is it located? Don't just say the address. If you say that Valparaiso is at 1620 Chapel Drive in Valparaiso, Indiana, but have no idea where it is, you will fail. You can talk about that you hope to get some work experience, but then you have to talk about how you're going to bring that home to your home country. And any ties do you have to your home country? If you are married, if you're a grad student and you're married, or I know one undergrad student who's married and they're leaving their spouse at home, that's ties to your home country. But really, why you picked the university, why you picked that major. And I get all these emails, tell me everything about my professors. We have a really great website, guys. So if you're an engineering student, go look at the engineering website. If you're a computer science or IT student, go look at the website, read the bios of the professors. Feel out, oh, that professor is doing this kind of research. That kind of interests me. Maybe I can mention that in the interview. And like I said, how are you paying for your studies? And if you say, oh, I'm going to pay for my studies by working on campus, then you will definitely fail your interview. We do have lots of jobs on campus, and we actually have more jobs often than students, but it's not enough to pay for all your living costs and your tuition. And also talk about your plans. And like I said, you could be honest and say, hey, I plan to use my STEM OPT and work for 3 years after graduation. But then you have to talk about that I plan to return to Bangladesh, India, Germany, or Brazil. You have to talk about returning to your home country and how you hope to gain the skills you gained in America and bring them back. But make sure you're truthful, you're unique. Another way I always tell students to prepare for this is we have a really, really good YouTube channel, and I'll put that link in the chat in a minute. And we have a Twitter account and our Facebook page. Those are all really, really cool ways to learn about the university and to take information home. And, or I know I see one student on here that I believe is part of our 2+2 program in China. And so you could talk about how I have had friends who have gone to Valparaiso previously, and I've been taught by Valpo professors already. So just your story is unique, and be prepared to talk about your unique story. Anything else you guys want to add?
One thing I want to add is be prepared for rejection, because not every time are you going to get a fair shake too at a visa interview. So I've heard from several students recently that went in, they described their interview exactly as it went to me. They said they went in, they were asked a few basic questions, they answered honestly and authentically, and they were handed a rejection slip. You know, it does happen. You're not going to necessarily succeed on your first try, nor even your second sometimes. Some students do get it on their first try, and others, it takes a little while. It takes a few tries. So my advice to you, and our advice, is don't be discouraged. All right, this is a journey that you are on. It can be a bit of an adventure, and you have to be brave about it. You have to be courageous. You have to not give in. You have to be dedicated to achieving your objective. If you want to travel abroad for education, there are going to be a lot of challenges that you're going to face. It's the same experience for all students everywhere. You're going to face some culture shock when you get here. It might be very stressful. It might be challenging managing studies in a foreign land, especially if you have no background in it. Maybe this is your first time going abroad. You've never done that before in your home country. So it's going to be challenging. There's going to be a lot of things that you're going to face along the way. The visa interview is just the first step. But even if you pass your visa interview and you come to America and you start at Valpo, you still have maybe 3-year journey after that. There's going to be 3 years. You know, you get 2 years of education at the graduate level, plus, you know, your OPT. You might stay in the country for a year, maybe more if you're in a STEM program and you have more. So depending upon what your studies are, if they're undergraduate or grad, you know, you're going to be here for a while. You're going to be studying. It's going to be challenging on its own. So just remember, you know, take in to your visa interview, dedication, be dedicated to it, give it your all. If it doesn't work out the first time, try again, is what we say. So,
and let us know. We ask that you take the information we have here and try to go for the first time, but do your homework first. And if you do fail, and it's certain countries, I think they just like to fail them the first time. We can set up a one-on-one visa prep, not at the last minute, but I can. Andrew, we're getting a lot of questions about, I think, students who got visas for maybe other universities. Do you want to, and now are more interested in coming to Valpo? You want to talk about how that would work a little bit briefly?
Yeah, I think, let's see, it's a little bit hard to go through all the details with everyone on here, but first of all, definitely send me an email and tell me your situation, and then I can see exactly what your situation is like and respond to that. But basically, if you want to transfer, you have to show your old school or the one that you got your visa for. You have to show that school your Valpo admission letter, and you have to ask them to transfer your CVIS record to Valpo. But they will not do that until after you come into the US. So after you get into the US, if you want to transfer to Valpo, you have to show the Valpo admission letter to that school, and they will process the transfer. Now, there are some forms that both they and we will have you fill out. I won't go into all that right now, but that's the real basic.
So this is for students who haven't entered the US yet, who haven't attended a university in the United States yet, but originally they were thinking another university. And so you will enter on the other university's I-20, and then you will process your transfer after you arrive.
Yes.
And so I think I spelled it right. The best way to reach Andrew is international@valpo.edu. And I put that in the chat.
Definitely, Marci. International Valpo. You can always email that, and that will get to me somehow. But if you want to email me directly, just put my
Okay,
personal
I'll
email.
add that too.
Yeah, Andrew Knox. Are you putting it, or I can put it, Marci?
You go ahead, put it.
Okay. Just email me directly, and I'll see exactly what your situation.
So the person who just posted, we are actually moving on to your exact question.
Yeah.
You are, once again, since Andrew's typing, I'll handle this for him. You are allowed to enter the United States up to 30 days before before orientation. So you are allowed to enter the United States as early as around July 18th. And if you are ready and you have your visa and you have a place to stay, you might want to come in a little early to get fully vaccinated before classes started. And then you don't have to worry about wearing a mask at orientation or in the first 2 weeks of class. But all international student orientation, all our orientations are required, guys. It is required that you guys come to these orientations. No, you cannot arrive on the 25th.
Yeah, so let me just talk about the orientation and the arrival time. So orientation starting on August 17th, that is mandatory. I mean, you are required to attend that. If you choose not to attend that, there is a possibility that your I-20 may not be registered. And that means that you will fall out of F1, or if you're on a J1 status, because we may not know that you're here. So, but it's not just that. Coming to orientation gives you a solid foundation. I went to China after college. I taught English in China, and so when I went to China, I had a solid foundation because I had lots of friends. I actually went through kind of an orientation as well. I had lots of friends, both Chinese and American, who were also teaching there, who showed me, what to do, how to do all kinds of different things. And so I really believe because of that, I had a very positive experience there. But I've heard of people who have just gone by themselves and had no foundation or friends or connections, and they had a very rough time. So that is why it's so important for you to be there on August 17th. Now, if for some reason, you get your visa on August 17th, I think that Ryan and Marci and I will be happy to have you come as soon as you can, by the start of classes. But if there's any way that you can be there on August 17th, you must be there.
Yeah, and I'll just emphasize this point too. While we are happy to help you at the last minute should not be your plan. So definitely plan as early as you can, as early as you are prepared to arrive within that 30-day arrival window. And you have a lot of things that you're going to have to get into place, your living arrangements, the COVID-19 guidelines that we addressed earlier. You're going to have to be prepared for all these things, right? So plan ahead, try to get here as early as possible. If circumstances do arise, that maybe your interview is starting late, you're going to have this narrow window of opportunity to try to get here. You really want to make it here for this semester. We will try to assist you. Although my perspective too in many of these cases is the later you arrive, especially once you pass the orientation date, if you can't make orientation.
Can someone turn off their mic, please? Saeed, maybe?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Go ahead, Ryan.
So what I was saying there is if you can't make that orientation date, the later you arrive after it, the worse your chances of success at your studies and the worse your chances of having a bad experience in America will be. And this is not the sort of thing that you want to jeopardize your experience here. You want to make sure you have a really good experience. You start off on the right foot, as we say, that you have all your ducks in a row, also another figure of speech we use, but basically just saying, be prepared, try to get here as early as possible. And many times I'm going to advise a graduate student who can't make it here on time for orientation to defer to the next available intake. So even though, it's possible we can work with you after the, arrival date, it does jeopardize your chances of success, and it doesn't hurt necessarily to put it off and make sure that you're prepared for the next semester instead. So just a
Also,
word on.
if you don't come early, you'll get last chances of classes too. So all your classes will be early in the morning. Not just kidding. No, but if you guys can't make orientation, it's your responsibility to email us and let us know, because you will still have to go through orientation. We'll have to make special arrangements, get you orientated to get you into classes like that. People are asking how early it can arrive. We do not want you guys to be like, if you don't have a place to live, because dorms, if you're undergrad students, dorms only open the Sunday before orientation. So we want, which is the 16th, I think?
The 15th.
The 15th. 15th?
The 5th, yeah, 17th is orientation, so 15th is the first day the undergrads can move into
orientation, unless there's some special program and you guys can move into maybe have special permission to move.
Yeah, I know the students from Dalian. I think there's a couple on here, but
I saw a couple Dalian
students come a little earlier. Yeah.
So, but the deal is, you guys need, if you can't be here, it's your responsibility to let us know that you can't get here on time, and we'll have to make special arrangements. If possible, and you have a aunt or uncle or cousin that lives in another area, I would try to come in even earlier and get fully vaccinated before school started. Like I said, there are 3 in the United States, and one is the Johnson & Johnson, which you only need 1 shot. So 2 weeks after that, you can be vaccinated. But, if you can't, we understand. So people are asking how early I should get here. When should I arrive here? You have to at least arrive here. Probably the last day I would recommend you arrive here is the 15th to the campus area. But like I said, you can enter up to 30 days before arrival.
Yeah, and I know there's a couple people, have situations with their visa interview. And again, we're really strong on you being here. I think you can get that now. But if your visa interview is right about the time of orientation, let us know and we will be happy to help you. So there's 2 sides of that. We will be happy to help you come by the start of classes, but make sure you're there by orientation if at all possible.
Okay, we'll get more into the questions. Why don't you go over the arrival areas, how to get here?
Yeah, so I think that hopefully all of you have gotten the first pre-arrival email maybe a couple weeks ago, and Ryan, I think the second one is or has gone out today. It probably is later today. Yeah, so and then the third one will go out maybe in about 2 weeks from now. So these emails, they all start with coming to Valparaiso. So these emails should be coming to your personal email address. So if you're not getting them, let one of us know and we'll make sure you get it. And I think it's maybe the third one that really talks about traveling to Valpo and how to get from the airport to Valparaiso. Let me put in the chat here. Let's see. So this is a link to basically what we'll talk about in that pre-arrival email. If you go down a little bit on that web page, you'll see a little graphic there, and it has some ways you can get from the airport to Valpo. So there's obviously Uber or taxi. Now the bus, we used to have a bus that would go directly from the airport to Valpo. And because of COVID, that stops. Of course, we hope that it would come back soon, but I don't think it has yet. So we will let you know as soon as that starts again. But there is the train. I would say that's a little complicated. So, you can look into that, the South Shore Line train, but that is a little complicated. But Uber, taxi, those are probably the best way to get to Valpo at this point.
What we see is a lot of students maybe will try to get connected with each other and try to maybe say, and then they could share Uber, and then it's not that bad. Like, if you have to sit in the airport, one guy's arriving at, 10 in the morning and the other guy's arriving at 3 or 4, I still think it's worth it to maybe share Uber and get here. Or do the compromise and maybe take an Uber to the train that will take you out to Valpo or out really close, and that'll save you a lot of money. But it is a bit of we're not that far from the airport, but due to COVID things, if the bus starts again, we'll let you guys know. that takes you directly from the airport, because the airport is on the other side of town from the university, other side of Chicago, and we're on the other side. So it's a little bit more of a distance. And once you guys get here, then the train is actually really easy to take to the airport. But just that first time when you have all your luggage and you're jet lagged, it might be a little bit more challenging.
Right. So whatever path you want to choose here, I would recommend just making sure you have a plan of action. Don't leave it until you actually step off the plane to decide what your mode of transportation will be. So we've already listed what the options are for you. You can definitely look into them and research them. Go to O'Hare International Airport's website to learn more about transportation options to and from the airport. You can look at a map of the terminal even, because O'Hare is a large airport. It can be easy to get lost there and to kind of lose sight of where you need to be. So definitely do your homework. Once you have your visa and you know you're going to get here, definitely start researching that and forming your plan of action.
Yeah, I talked to an international alumni a few weeks ago, and we were just talking about his story when he first came to Valpo, and he did great. He had a really great time. He's working in the U.S. now. But he said, "Oh yeah, I just came to the airport, and I thought, it's just like, some international airport around the world. I can just find public transportation and come to Valpo." But it's not that easy in the US. That's one thing I like about airports around the world. You can find transportation really easily. So he actually got lucky, and somebody else was also coming to Valpo right at the same time, and they worked it out. But there are ways to get from the airport to the university, but make sure you know ahead of time.
Yeah, and the experience can be a little scary too if you're not prepared or if it's your first time. I will say that O'Hare being as busy as it is, and it being a Chicago airport, it's not that easy to just find help. There are people there who will help you, but I've been there before, traveled internationally from O'Hare before. I've been to the terminals, so have Marci and Andrew. And I mean, it can be a little rough. So thankfully, once you have your plans in place, you make develop, you're going to find out things cool down a lot here. And it's a lot more easygoing in Valpo than it is in Chicago. So just one of our other strengths here. Orientation.
We're getting a lot more questions about when I should arrive. Here's the situation. Everyone will have to wear a mask if they are not vaccinated, if you quarantine. But you'll just have a little bit more freedom after the 7 days and your second COVID test after arrival. You'll just be a little bit more free, but you still will have to wear a mask. And the mask until you're vaccinated. If you are an undergrad student and living on campus, you can move in on the 15th. If you want to request, send me an email. If you want to see if you can move in a little early, we could always ask housing and handle it case by case. But right now, unless you're part of a special group, the move-in date for undergrads is the 15th. You still will be able to leave. It's not a hard quarantine. It's like we're asking you, you still will be able to go out and buy food, go to the cafeteria. We're just asking you to wear a mask everywhere once you leave your dormitory. Or if you're a grad student and living in your apartment, you still are allowed to leave your apartment. It's not a complete lockdown. We're just asking you to be responsible international travelers and wear a mask till you've had your second test and till you're fully quarantined or till you're fully vaccinated. If you make through the whole quarantine, you still will need to get a vaccination after arrival if you're not fully vaccinated. We will help you get that vaccination. I think that answers those questions about that. Like I said, it's a modified quarantine where you will be able to leave your apartment or your dorm room. But we will want you to get a second test after arrival, and we'll help you do that at the health center, and it will be covered under your health insurance. And like I said, we're going to send out a more detailed email probably in about 10 days with all these details. Someone's asking if I should get a sooner interview. If you can get a sooner interview than August 6th, sure. What if you get turned down the first time? So most embassies and consulates have an email to request an emergency appointment. and say, hey, I want to get my earlier appointment if possible, because I want to get to the United States and get fully vaccinated before classes start. So that you maybe even use that reason.
So it is good to get to apply for the emergency appointment, right, Marci?
Yes, if you can get it. Sometimes they say yes, sometimes they no. But August 6th, if you're successful, should still be enough time for you to get here in time.
There's a question about online classes. So over the past year, things have been very unusual in the international student world and in all of our worlds. But for regarding online classes, they've been very unusual, and more online classes have been allowed than normal. But in fall 2021, we should expect to go back to the normal situation where international students are allowed to take one online class out of their minimum full-time studies. So if they're taking 12 credits as an undergrad, only one of those classes, maybe 3 credits, can be online. If they're graduates, 9 credits, only one of those classes, maybe 3 credits class, can be online. So no, there's not an all online option for this fall semester.
We had a few questions we wanted to get to from earlier in the chat. One person asked about vaccine side effects after the second dose. So everybody experiences it a little bit differently. I can tell you from personal experience, the only side effects I received from my vaccinations were a little soreness in my shoulder. But other people, it can be a little bit more of a hit. So it does arrive, and the more you prepare, I mean, you'll be better prepared. You might have more time, hopefully, to recover from the second dose of the vaccine. But it's a thing that, since we're mandating it, we're going to work with you. So if you fall ill, you can work with your professors, during your studies to let them know that you're going to be down for a day or two, whatever happens to you, we'll keep track and support you.
Yeah, I have not heard of people having more than 1 day, maybe 2 at the max, but I had a fever my first day after the second vaccine, but after that I was great and it was all good. So nothing too bad.
And I had a foggy head for a couple of days, but I still was able to keep working. Yeah. I would like to repeat, Valparaiso is requiring all students. So if you go through a quarantine after arrival, we require all students to have a vaccine that's on the World Health Organization list, which we'll email out to you, but I also added it into the chat a little while ago. It has to be one of those approved. So if you go through quarantine, you still have to wear a mask till you're fully vaccinated, but you'll just have a little bit more freedom. And I didn't look at the whole list because there's like 100, I think there's like probably 30. So check out that list to see if COVID Shield is on that list. So make sure you just take a look. Anything on the World Health Organization vaccine list is approved. The person who wants to switch majors, please email the grad school about switching majors. Don't forget, finance is still a STEM degree. So if you are currently enrolled for IEF, you still can work for 3 years after graduation. And it's more of a unique major than IT. The person asking for the health immunization form, you should have got an email about that, right? Even for grad?
Yeah, you should be receiving it, if not already, shortly.
Yeah. A J student, this is an Andrew question. A J student, one of our exchange students is asking, how long can they stay after their program in the United States?
Yeah, so at the end of your program, which is either December 2021 or May 2022, you can stay for 30 days. So you can tour the US or you can, do whatever you want to do during that time, but you have to leave within 30 days of the program end date on your DS 2019.
Yep.
Okay.
Questions about deferrals. That's another one where you should email us, but don't necessarily, especially for graduate deferrals, expect responses right away. We will get to your deferral in time and respond and process it, but it's going to be a little while. We're still working on our fall 2021 admissions right now. So anything that's for later terms, we're going to be prioritizing, at a later date. But definitely,
So what, and if you're asking about your major and your IT and you can't figure out how to research on the computer science, you know, we're a little worried about you. So all the great information about our information is on your website. Someone said they applied 12 days ago. All the information about the different majors, who the professors are, what courses you will take is available on the website. And you guys should, and there's even a lot of times there's a YouTube video about the different majors. So all that information is available, and I'll put this link again, talking about Valpo, where you can do that research. I think that's really, really important. The person who's asking about admissions, please email. If you're grad, email the grad department. If you're undergrad, email the undergrad department. That I don't know who you are by Sunny. So I'm putting these links again. Let's see.
and then Mark asks, after being fully vaccinated in our home country, do we need to quarantine and do a second COVID test after arrival at Valpo?
We will have an answer for you next week about that. They're still trying to figure out. I mean, you guys know this. Things are changing so quickly about these. The Delta variant is also changing things a little bit. So these things are evolving. So that's why we are meeting with the health center. We're meeting with housing. We're meeting with student services. Who else is in that meeting? It's like a crazy meeting of like 6 different offices. So we can make sure, and we're gonna get this all in writing and get everyone to agree upon this. You might need to get a second. What they're saying right now is you wouldn't need a second test, but that might change. So we will keep you guys up to date, and we will send this all in writing. But you do need to email us, not us, the health center, your proof of your COVID vaccine and your COVID test. And you can't enter the US, if you're vaccinated, you can't enter the United States without a negative COVID test. Did I miss anything?
I think so. The good news is the situation looks very positive right now. It's a much different situation than it was last year at this time. So I think things are shaping up very positively. We're very much ahead of the game this time, and we're hoping to have a very nice in-person semester this fall, and a resumption of normal operations. So even though there are still some variables in the air, we're watching those, we're monitoring them closely, and we're going to keep everybody informed with how that might change things. But
Yeah, we
definitely pay close attention to your emails.
So some people are asking, they said they applied in the last 2 weeks. We don't know, it's a different response if you're grad or undergrad. I think if you applied in the last 2 weeks for grad, you might be past the deadline. What was your deadline, Ryan? Are you still considering students?
We're generally not processing any more applications for fall 2021 from students who are still abroad, but for students who are wishing to transfer, we are still processing applications for those, and we'll do that up to the start of classes.
Yeah. And undergrad, we are doing it case by case, depending how hard it is to get a visa in your country, if you could get here. So Pavin, we don't know if it's grad or undergrad student. That whoever applied might have missed the deadline. I mean, grad pretty much cut off. What was your cutoff date?
It was really the 1st of June, and there were still some applications afterwards that were processed up until the 15th.
Yeah, so if they didn't get in before the 15th, they might not be considered. They might have to ask to be considered for the January term, depending on their major.
And we'll be responding to a lot of students and keeping them updated on what their current status is and what their options will be. But we've had a large volume of applications for this fall. It's been a sizable increase over the last 2 years. So we're just working our way through them as we can.
If you are an undergrad student, is it possible all students are automatically, both grad and undergrad are considered for scholarships at the time of application?
Yeah, we are really looking forward to seeing you in a couple months. It's been a crazy year. We did have international students come into Valpo last year. It was just a few, and we had more in the spring, so we were really happy about that. But we're hoping for a lot more this fall. So we're really, really excited to see you all. It's our favorite time of year to see you all in August. So if you got the first and second pre-arrival emails, there is a link to join a Facebook group for new international students in there. So make sure you join that if you have Facebook. You'll see a couple welcome messages from current students and maybe a couple more next few weeks.
And that's a great way to find a roommate. If you're a grad student, it's a great way to find a connection that you guys can arrive on the same date and get an Uber together. So, definitely join the Facebook page and we'll post some fun stuff there as well. But that's a good way to make a connection if you're looking for a roommate, if you're looking for everything.
Yeah.
We believe the fitness center will be open. It opened, it closed in the fall, last year. So last year, just so you know, we will be resuming the president has reiterated this with COVID restrictions a little bit. If you're not vaccinated, wearing a mask and stuff like that, we expect everything should be fully open on campus in the fall, and that includes the gym. And part of your fees is paying for your gym membership. So we do expect now, if something happens, it might be closed for 2 weeks or it might be opening and closing. But our intention right now is everything will be fully open in the fall.
That's right.
If you have specific questions about specific cases, if you're a grad student, please email graduate.school@valpo.edu. If you're undergrad, please email intl.undergrad@valpo.edu. We're not going to get into very specific cases here. My language score came late. That's your responsibility. Then you might not be able to be considered. But especially we are very much in demand this year. We have more apps and more receptive students, and we're just trying to accommodate everyone. So please get back to us. Please get your visa interviews done because we might reach a capacity level this year. We are very much in demand.
And we're running out of time here. So I'm going to say if we didn't get to your questions, just go ahead and email us. We're going to try to get back to you in a reasonable time frame. We'll be happy to still continue the conversation outside of the webinar. So Andrew, Marci, if you have anything else to add before we sign off here.
Like I said, we're not going to get into specific cases. If you're a grad student, email this address. Undergrad, email the INTL address.
Yeah,
But
I would say is just, make sure you look at those coming to Valparaiso pre-arrival emails or anything that Ryan or Marci send to you. They come from international@valpo.edu. So yeah, those give you lots of information. We are really looking forward to seeing you. I mean, we really love to see you here on campus.
we actually have a really good question I think we should answer really quick. Is that you don't have to pay your tuition till after you arrive and till after you register for classes. So, and a lot of people will pay with a credit card or a wire transfer. And we understand, especially that first semester, that it might take you a little time to get organized. Part of orientation, we do have banks that come to campus to help you set up your bank accounts, right? We're doing that. Are we back to that?
Yeah. There should be a fair at the orientation, and the local bank representatives should be there, as far as I know, to help you with that. Yeah.
And Ryan, someone's asking, are you going to send out the video of this session to everyone who attended?
Absolutely. So
Okay.
everybody, this session has been recorded. We'll be uploading it soon, hopefully within the next week. And we'll be sending out the recording to everybody who is invited to attend and all the attendees here. So be on the lookout for it. If you missed out on part of it, refer back to it as a resource, certainly, as you prepare. But we'll definitely be sending this out. So
Okay, thank you guys, and please email us your questions. We can't wait to see you guys on campus, and we're really excited you're coming.
And best of luck, everyone, as well.
Bye. See you soon.
Have a great day, everybody.